coming to the April 2019 Maker Meetup. My name is Al Chen. You probably got a bunch of my emails today and last week. I'm from Coda. I work here in New York. I'm the one at the moment year complete.
I was asked by a lot of people how many people we have in New York. You make it seem like we have a whole office here.
This is my whole office, actually. Today, Shir, the CEO of Coda, has gracefully come to talk about the Maker generation. And we're also going to have a few presentations from some of the lovely folks out here about the docs that they've made in Coda and how they've been able to build some really interesting things using the platform. And we'll also have some food and there's some drinks over there as well and some stickers. So we'll definitely have some time to talk amongst ourselves afterwards. So with that, I'll leave it to Shir.
All right, thanks. Sure, if there's something with that in it, it's okay, I'll get like this. Thanks, Al. So I'm Shir. I started Coda about 4.5 years ago. And before that, I spent about 6 years running the YouTube product for Google. I was in town for a few other things, and so Al asked me to come by and give this talk, largely based off of an article, an op-ed I wrote for Harvard Business Review a few weeks back. And actually, the original title of this was What Can Software Learn from YouTube? And the genesis of this was that I get asked a lot how I went from working on YouTube to working on Coda. And for most people that seems like odd, but for me that seems completely linear and obvious. And so that's what the talk I wanted to start with here is. And I'll tell just a couple stories to set the stage here. So I joined. So I joined YouTube in 2008. So just to like set time frame, YouTube was bought by Google the year before. I was working at Google on another project. I was asked to come over and help grow the YouTube business. And then in early 2009, I was asked to give a talk actually here in New York to a group of industry executives and to talk about the future of YouTube, the future of online video. And I put up this picture on the wall. And the statement I made then was, online video is going to do to cable what cable did to broadcast. And we're going to go, we spent 3 or 4 decades going from 3 channels to 300 channels, and we're now going to go from 300 channels to 3 million channels. And at the time, now I think I say that and most people sort of nod their heads, it seems kind of obvious what YouTube ended up doing. But at the time, it was really not obvious to anybody. This is the time when YouTube, our primary competition in comparison for YouTube was a property called MySpace. Most people probably don't use anymore, and a property called Flickr, which most people also don't use anymore. So at the time, this sounded crazy. It was, how could you possibly compare YouTube to cable television? It's like all these Disney and ESPN and so on. It doesn't seem like anything to do with this view on video property. But in my mind, it was really obvious. And a lot of that was formed around a very early experience I had on YouTube with this guy. Anybody know who this is? There are a couple people. So his name is Sal Khan. You may know his property better. So he runs a site called Khan Academy. You can kind of see it in the background here, so it's pretty recognizable. That's his son, Imran. And so Sal and I have an interesting history. We both went to college together, and we stayed in pretty close touch because we lived nearby. We both ended up marrying our college sweethearts. Both our wives are physicians. And so we would hang out, have dinner every once in a while. And in 2008, he and his wife came over for dinner. I told Sal, hey, I'm going to be doing this new thing. I'm going to join YouTube, and I'm going to try to turn this into a real property. And he said, oh, actually, I use YouTube all the time. And I said, that's great. Like, it's probably at that point, there's a few hundred million people use YouTube, not 3 billion, but it still is a lot. And I said, that's great. You know, you have any feedback for the platform? He said, no, I don't think you understand. I use YouTube. Like, I publish to YouTube all the time, and people seem to really watch my stuff. And he told me a little about his story. For people that don't know his story, he has a cousin who lives in New Orleans, and she was having trouble with math. And so she called up her older cousin and said, can you help me out? And at the time, it was really hard to get Skype timing to work. And so he said, why don't you just send me the problems, and I'll solve them. I'll videotape myself, and I'll send them back to you, and then that'll be your tutoring. But at the time, it was really hard to send video over the internet, so they nothing could take those big attachments. And so he decided he'd upload them into YouTube, and he didn't even notice if there was a button whether it was public or not, and he just left them up. And so he was sending this like literally one-on-one tutoring that ended up, getting spread around the internet. So, so he tells me this story. I think, oh, that's pretty interesting. I go to work the next day, and I'm just going through some of the data on the different YouTube creators. And one of the stats I find is just comparing all the different education institutions on YouTube. And at the time, MIT and Stanford were the first two colleges to start an open courseware initiative, where they were taking every video folder lectures and putting it all online, so you can see everything. And it was like really big projects, and lots of money going into it. And I look at the stats, and I immediately write Sal and said, I don't think you understand this, but I just looked at MIT and Stanford. You have more viewership than MIT and Stanford combined. All that work going into it. And so, that's my machine deciding to go to sleep. Thankfully the slides are not that important. So I said, Sal, you have to join our partner program. And this is, at the time, to make money on YouTube, you have to be invited into the partner program. And kind of hand invited by somebody. And so I said, I'll sponsor you, you can become a partner. And actually our meetup for YouTube were like kind of like this at the time. It's like really small group of partners. And I said, you can be part of the partner program, you'll make some ad money, maybe it'll be good for your channel. And he said, all right, sounds fine. If you think it's a good idea, I'd be happy to do it. So we did it. And then we fast forward about 3 or 4 months. Him and his wife are over for dinner again. And actually both our wives were pregnant at the time, so I was pregnant with this guy and Ron, mine with our second. And which is sort of important to the story actually. And Sal starts off and says, thank you very much for getting me into the partner program, working really well, getting this check comes in every month, it pays us for the channel, and then he sort of lowers his voice a little bit and he says, the size of the check seems to be rising pretty constantly, and I can see like in a few months it's going to cross our rent, and probably a few months after that it's going to cross, he was working at a hedge fund at the time, then a few months after that it's going to cross my hedge fund salary. And so I've been thinking about maybe I should quit and do this full time. And then I look over at his wife, and his wife gives me like a stare of death. Like, please answer this question properly. And I kind of ignored her. And I said, well, I'm betting my career on it. I think there's this like new thing happening in video, and we're going to go from 3 channels to 300 channels to 3 million channels, and it's inevitable. And you can be part of that. And gave my whole speech about it. So lots went right for Sal to have the success he's had. I consider myself a tiny little nudge in that experience. But he did end up quit his job at the hedge fund. He started Khan Academy. Khan Academy now easily the #1 education institution on the planet. I think Sal is probably the #1 individual teacher on the planet. And by the way, he still makes almost all the videos himself. And the reason I think the story is really amazing is if you think about this from a slightly different perspective. Imagine Sal had gone like the traditional route, and he called up one of these guys and said, "Hey, I've got a new idea for a TV show." And he would have shown up, flown to LA, shown up in this studio, and he would say, "I got this idea for a TV show." And they would have said, "Oh, great, do you have any experience in television?" And he would have said, "No, I have no experience in entertainment whatsoever." And they say, "Well, are you a teacher?" He says, "No, I'm not a teacher. I'm just like pretty good at math." And he says, "All right, fine. Well, this doesn't seem like a good meeting, but tell me about your idea." And he'd say, "Well, what I want to do is I want to take, I'm going to videotape myself solving the first problem in the algebra book, and I'm just going to keep going through the whole book. And when I get to the end of the book, I'm going to do the next book. I'm going to do it over and over and over again until I finish all the math books, and maybe I'll do another subject. And by the way, I'm not going to show my face in any video. There's no characters, there's no storyline, there's no music, there's none of that. It's like, every video looks like that, right? And so that's my idea. What do you think? He would have gotten laughed at every room. And the best part about it is he didn't have to ask anybody, and so he did it anyway. Nobody could tell him it was his idea. And so I spent about 6 years working on YouTube. YouTube obviously grew a lot. Thanks a lot to people like Sal. And one of the biggest things it taught me was this like real confidence in what I started calling the maker generations. This idea that in the video industry in particular, we've drawn up these false walls of you're allowed to be a creator and you're not. And one of the things that I noticed is that this wasn't really about video. And plug this in too. So this wasn't really about video, and I actually think the same phenomenon is happening in all sorts of different industries. And you could see very similar. If you make products and crafts, there's a site called Etsy that allows you to bring your crafts to the market. If you were to go look at, for example, the gaming world, I think what people do in Fortnite, Minecraft, is just like there's an expectation that you create your own world, you create your own experiences. And I think just basically every industry was seeing the same thing happen. But interestingly, there was one exception, and that's software. And software, I think software has got its own interesting journey. The early days of software, software was all hobbyists. Right? There's a homebrew computing club. That's where Jobs and Wozniak hung out. Everybody sort of assembled together hardware, software. You had to build everything yourselves. And then software changed, and we had this generation I call the mega app generation, where a company like SAP came out, and you would buy SAP, and you'd buy like one thing for your entire company. And this is like a list of all the different modules that SAP covers. Like covers every department of your company. And you kind of had one company that did everything. And then we got to this new generation. This is a picture of a bunch of the different SaaS applications out there. Or you can see the same thing in the consumer space. We now have 4 million apps in the Apple App Store and the Android Play Store. But in a lot of ways, this story feels very similar to me to what happened in video. This is like going from 3 to 300. And there's the same symptom. This is being built by people that are labeled as developers. They have certain qualifications. They live in certain places. They go to certain schools. And it's the same set of walls that define what it means to be a software maker. And one of the big things we thought about as we were starting Coda is what if it were as easy to create an app as it is to make a doc? What if you had a completely different way to think about it? And so that was really the heart of where Coda came from. One of the main observations is we started thinking about what's the challenge, and we had a little bounce there, and my pictures aren't coming through. It's okay, they'll appear in a second. It's got really crappy internet here. The challenge. Oh, there we go. So anybody know who this guy is? You know who he is. Yeah. So this guy's name is Brett Victor. So Brett he's an old ex-Apple designer. The way he's described now is futurist, which is I think a job title everybody should aspire to. And he writes these pretty amazing pieces. And he wrote one a while back on why software is hard. What makes it hard to develop software? And he said his thesis is that it's not that software is hard; it's that we have the wrong abstractions. And the analogy he gave was there was a time when the way we did math was to use these funny Roman numerals. And at the time, if you wanted to do math, like if you wanted to get a set of numbers multiplied, you would go up the hill to talk to one of the special people that know how to multiply numbers. Probably had a long white beard, and then you get your numbers multiplied, and you get to walk back down the hill with your new numbers. And the basic idea here is that all it took to change the perception of math was to get to the Arabic numeral system, and now everybody can do math. We expect kindergartners to do it. And so the whole thesis here was, what if we did the same thing and we made it just as easy to work with what people generally think of as hard concept, but put it into a frame that feels like a document. So that's sort of the start of Coda. And actually, I should have asked, who here is already a Coda user? Well, we're going to hear a lot more from all the different people here. So this is, for the people that are not that familiar, this is a little description of Coda. Coda blends word processor, spreadsheets, applications, all into a single new canvas. This product we're looking at here is Coda. And you can build lots of different things in Coda, and we're going to see, I think, 3 different ones from different people. I thought I'd show a couple of my own to kick this off. And so I picked a couple examples here. So I thought I'd show, I wanted to show 2 things. The first one I was going to show is one of my personal favorites. So this is my to-do list template. And this template also has a little history. So this actually started as an email to my team at YouTube. I used to send these Sunday night emails with the recap of the week and sometimes a little bit of interesting philosophy or something I've been asked. And I got asked a lot about how I manage my time. And so I wrote this email and started with to-do lists are classic and personal, your mileage may vary. And I had a few analogies, like this one I really like is I think people that make to-do lists are either an etch-a-sketcher and you like start every day totally fresh, or you're a piler and you get things out of your head and into your list. So I know who here is a piler? Half and half. Oh, that's interesting. And one of my observations is that each group thinks the other one's crazy. It's nuts to be an etch-a-sketcher, nuts to be a piler. And so anyways, this is written as an email. There's this thing from Mark Twain about eating frogs. It's kind of gross. This thing from David Allen about getting things done. And then when we started Coda, this turned from what looks like an email or a blog post into an implementation. So you work your way through this doc, and every piler knows that the first thing you have to do is set up your piles. And if you set up too many piles, you spend all your time piling. And so it's really important to set up the right ones. And so it sort of walks through that process, walks through the process of setting up your tasks. And what does your task database look like? My primary view of this looks like this. Back down a little bit. What's on my plate, not on my plate by time frame. And then I have this like agenda view that shows me kind of a summary for the day. And everything in Coda is pretty interconnected, so I'll be constantly moving these things around and saying, actually that's not on my plate anymore, and everything will update. The reason I like this example, and it does one last thing, is it sends me a notification. So every day at 6 a.m. it emails that today's section to me, and so I get a little summary. The reason I wanted to start with this one is as we look at some of the different things that people are going to build and that people built in Coda, I like this one. First off, I think a lot of great Coda docs feel like this. They're like an idea, they're a blog post, they're an article that turn into an implementation. I think that's really awesome. The other thing I really like about this is it's like intentionally meant for each person to make it their own. Like in my view, it's really hard to build a to-do list. Actually, one of the reasons none of the software for to-do lists ever worked for me was it was always just a little bit off from what I wanted. And I think that idea that we're going to go like same way as in video, we went from like these big mega channels to these tiny ones that sort of address very specific interests. I think we're going to see the same thing with software. So actually, I'll probably leave it at that one and start off the next presentation. Any questions? All right, who wants to go first?
Cool. Coda partnered with this website called Product Hunts a few weeks ago. Product Hunts is this website where you can launch new products, an online product, a school product, and we had over a few hundred submissions, and back to Jacob and said what their submissions were from. The festival was to create a Coda doc that does some kind of product look, and they built a really cool application that started in Coda, and now it's becoming like a real business. And we're going to walk through what they built originally for the festival, and now it's becoming a business. So, just thank you, Jacob. Appreciate it.
You want to present up here?
Yeah, sure. I don't know, I'm Matt, I'm a product designer by day and working on a account sponsor by night. And I'm Jacob, I'm a data scientist by day, and we're going to tell you guys the story of CommSponsor. But first, admittedly, I'd like to be a little bit honest. Our application is not nearly as advanced as what they had built. The use case we were using Coda for was a lot different. It was more of kind of like a prototype POC way to validate an idea that we had and get a prototype to market. So I guess we'll go ahead and dive in. So like Shishir said, it is absolutely easier than ever to get startup off the ground or to build something with either low-code tools or little software development experience. So, yes, there's been an explosion of tools in the last 5 years, like Coda, R, Typeform, Zapier. Actually, you can build a software platform, you can give it an app, at least an MVP version of it. Coda lets you do docs and apps, cards, landing pages, Typeform is forms and surveys, and Zapier lets you connect with them. It feels like all the hard parts of starting a business are absolutely just abstracted away from it. You can get 80% of the way there with 20% of the way, allowing you to grow the so this started with the Maker Festival. I've seen it around Twitter. I knew I wanted to make something and I wanted to enter. I had zero idea what to make. I was just kind of sitting there like staring at an empty Coda doc, just lightning strike. Give me something. And I sat there for 2 hours, and then I remember a conversation Jacob and I had a few days earlier, and I'll let him tell his side of that story, but that inspired me.
Yeah, so basically one of the pain points that I personally experienced was kind of inspiration for Mac going down this journey. And to give you guys some background, I actually run a community of data scientists here in New York, and I also have a large Slack channel that I manage of these data scientists. And in order to fund the group, because it's a big time commitment outside of work, for my part, as well as find ways to creatively grow the community, keep people engaged, I figured we need to find some funding or get some sponsors. And it was just a huge headache in terms of sourcing sponsors. And by the time I actually got in contact with the company willing to sponsor us, I had no idea how to price ourselves. I had no idea how to collect payment. It got to the point where the CFO of the company actually had to send me a personal vendor request in order for us to receive the sponsorship funds. So I was telling Mac about that, and that's kind of when the light bulb moment came on.
Essentially, it was a relatively simple Coda doc that would connect digital communities on platforms like Discord, Telegram, and Slack with companies that want to sponsor that. Next one, so this is a screenshot of what our initial Coda doc looked like. So it is very much like, it is an advanced kind of Excel spreadsheet. Right? We had, each community had a line with some information on what type of community they are, how big they are, what their audience type is, a link to learn more about them, what kind of sponsorship opportunities they are going to offer, and then a button that would send an email to me if a company was interested in sponsoring the community. And then we had some filters at the top, so you could filter to just Discord communities, or just Slack, or just developers. And there's also a page for communities that have a form where they can fill out a form to get on this list. Yeah, so that was the gist of it. It was, once I had the idea, it was an hour and a half, and I had this, and I had his community on board, and the next
What was the first advertisement?
We'll get to that in a second. And then I threw together a landing page with Coda, which just had, when you clicked on 4 companies and communities, it took you to the right section of the Coda doc, so it was kind of like a nice wrapper around it.
And we got this all up and running in under 24 hours, so that just again underscores kind of how unprecedented
It was like 2 hours.
the era we're in right now, where you can go from idea to prototype to market validation to so
it took us 48 hours. I reached out to all the community leaders I knew, including Jacob. We got 5 communities signed up, which had almost 15,000 total reach across all their members. And within 48 hours, we got our first sponsor to sponsor one of the communities. So it was 48 hours from idea to revenue. Not a lot of revenue, but it was revenue.
Was it Venmo?
it was not the maybe we should reach out to them next. It was this company called Blockstack. They're building a decentralized platform for DI developers. They raised about $100 million ICOs.
Wow.
So that to us kind of gave us the motivation that, okay, this is something that is a little real. Maybe we should do something with it. Maybe it should be more than just this Coda doc.
Yeah, so fast forward 4 weeks later, and it's turned into a legitimate business. We moved along from the prototype Coda POC to a full-fledged platform. We just launched the alpha version of it, and we're almost up to 500,000 total community members and counting, and we're working with dozens of companies at this point to help connect them for sponsorships.
Yeah, so that's the gist. Our goal is to connect great companies with great communities, and it was all possible because we had Coda and Car and other tools like that let us build a prototype in less than a day, and prove that it was worth dedicating every waking hour outside of work working on this for the past month.
So cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, awesome.
Any questions for Mac or Jacob?
What does the sponsorship end up looking like? Like you were telling me a little bit earlier.
Yeah, so it comes in a few different forms. You can kind of think of it very akin to what a podcast sponsorship is. You actually have the host delivering a message, and it's coming from a trusted source that gives you credibility for your brand. We actually have community leaders post sponsored messages on behalf of the communities. And we also make sure that every sort of sponsorship is completely the right fit, so that it doesn't send the community the wrong signal, or that it doesn't feel spammy, it doesn't feel kind of out of left field. It actually brings value.
You require that declared, like this brought to you by. Right?
Yeah. So it's completely open to the community, and it brings value to the community as well as the company. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. We're also working with some communities and companies that are doing more than just a sponsored message. Some of them are doing like expert AMAs with the community, so they'll bring someone from the company into the channel to field questions from the community and provide value in that way. So it goes beyond just the messaging. It's a little bit like building a relationship between their community and company. And the space is very new. And to be honest with you, a lot of these community leaders that are sort of the gatekeepers of these communities, they just kind of grew from a few friends in a group chat all of a sudden to a 10, 20, 30, 40,000 person community. That was definitely my experience with the data science group. So they don't really have a time or experience in doing things like sourcing sponsorships with the companies. Their day-to-day is just focused on, hyper-focused on managing the community. So we're trying to build out, the grand vision is to build out a full set of tools and suites and things for them to essentially manage their communities easier. And we had a really interesting story real quick. One of the first communities I reached out to was on Discord. It was I think 3,000 or 4,000 primarily high school kids who were just helping each other learn code and ask questions and things. And when we reached out to the community leader and told him our idea, he got really excited and he was like, "Oh my god, I can make like $5 or $10 a month for this." And it's like a 15-year-old kid in India, and we were like, "No, you can probably make like $400 or $500 a month from this." And it was just like his reaction was the coolest thing ever. Like mine was completely blown that all the work he put in building this community could actually, bring money.
Like for him, sponsorship was life changing. He was thinking $5 a month. We told him 500. Yeah.
And then how do they, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, how do the communities specify the sponsorship levels or so, or?
Sort of, yeah, they specify what they're willing to offer, whether it's one message a month, 2 a month, if they're willing to tag everyone, if they're willing to be open to, AMAs and whatnot. So like, it's all there for the companies to see, so companies know what they're kind of buying.
Yeah. We've kind of built simple algorithms to help them pick a price range, because again, that's something that they don't really know how to do. There's no kind of cadence to a sponsorship package that they don't. And that's,
We take in data like how big the community is, how many active members there are, how many messages are sent, what the audience is, how much they're willing to offer in exchange. We give them kind of a suggested price range price to that.
And we're benchmarking it similar to things like podcast sponsored messaging or things like an in-person event, because again, this is kind of like the scaled version of an in-person event every single day.
Benchmark it with the price. Like move like the high water mark for CPM and the trailers are movies. Those are considered one of the highest price ones.
Yeah.
The other very authentic message.
Yeah, and the other interesting thing that we mentioned mentioned, is that when it comes to things like digitally served ads, whether it's algorithmically or automatically, that's the computer's best guess, or the machine learning algorithm's best guess. This is something you might be interested in. Whereas if you join a community around a particular interest, that's self-declared interest. It's organic. It's kind of proven that this message is going to be relevant.
What does the actual flow of money look like from a sponsor to a group?
So it flows through us. Right now, we make money by taking a percentage of that, just facilitating it. And right now, it's basically, once both sides agree to the deal, the money flows through and goes to the community. Working on building out kind of like an escrow system where it can be held until the deal is kind of completed. It's pretty simple, just A2B for us.
Okay, and then
How do you guys go about growing the number of communities and sponsors?
A little bit, it started with manual outreach. It didn't really start with the intention of signing communities up. We were mostly just reaching out. But we realized, like, okay, sign Jacob users, what other people need this? And almost every single community we reached out to said, "Oh my God, can I sign up?" Yeah, I guess we haven't actually built anything yet, but yeah, you can sign up. And that one for like the first 20 we reached out to, every single one, like on the spot, wanted to sign up. So it started with that. We started getting kind of word of mouth. We actually had our first organic sign up a few days ago. A community of 30,000 software testers. Yeah, that just signed up.
You reach out to Slack and Discord?
I mean, this doesn't differ like very much from like why can't Instagrammers or YouTubers in that case like use it, as opposed to
There's a bunch of them from
communities.
Instagram and
Yeah,
I've
so
never heard of
there are
it.
tons of influencer marketing. We actually have one of our organic signups was a Twitch live stream. So we were targeting that initially, but it does make sense. It's still a digital.
Yeah.
You can't something to do it.
Yeah.
So you kind of think of community leaders as kind of like next gen.
Yeah.
Very smart.
So in your prototype, it was a Coda doc that emailed you.
Yeah.
As you are moving into a productized version, I'm assuming you're automating more of that, or is it
Yeah.
still like when interest is peaked, it just emails your inbox?
It's right now
Full scale
it is that, but eventually the idea is it's supposed to be fully automated. Where you can sign up, find the communities you like, message them with an offer, and it just goes from there.
Okay. But that's still further down the road.
Yeah, well, not that far. We're a week or two from launching. Yeah.
Have you guys come to Meetup yet?
But we have not. We have a few meetups.
We have a few meetup groups that have signed up.
We're kind of hyper focusing at first to not put ourselves through that. Just Slack is.
we're trying to focus on the three platforms I mentioned, primarily kind of programming and development communities, because I think it's a very narrow focus. So if we get one company and we can connect them to virtually all our communities.
Like WhatsApp would be the other one.
Yeah, we looked into WhatsApp.
Yeah, we've actually like, and then when we look around the corner, it's like there's LinkedIn groups and Facebook groups and there's the digital communities everywhere.
Are you finding your sponsors? Are they okay?
No, so for every community that signs up, right now we're going out and basically identifying 3 to 5 sponsors that we think would be a good fit and kind of contact from that community, and that's what we're also from.
So this
Yeah, so anytime you're building some sort of two-sided marketplace or platform to jumpstart it, your key KPI that you focus on is going to be those number of actions and actions that you facilitate. So that's what we're focused on right now. Anything in terms of like growth statistics, that's more vanity metrics.
You mentioned in like 2 weeks you're gonna have it, so like kind of a self-serve for sponsors to find communities. What is that, if you can give like any sneak peek, what is that gonna feel like, look like?
And essentially, the communities kind of build out a profile. Right? They've got like their stats on how big they are, how many members they have, what kind of interests they cover, what sponsorships they're offering. So companies can browse that and they can filter by size, community type, community size, interest. And if they're interested, there's essentially a button they click, and like they've self-declared what the price is, and they can send a message saying they're interested. And if the community agrees that the sponsor's a good fit, then the payment goes through, and they carry out the sponsor.
So you're kind of removing yourselves from that.
Yeah, there'll probably be a lot of us manually driving those connections initially as you have to do the marketplace, but the idea is that you could come on and do it without us.
Right.
I'm curious, with all the ideas people have been throwing out, like, have you thought about Instagram models? Have you thought about YouTube channels? How much are you trying to focus your marketplace on communities and community leaders versus letting it blow out to any sort of, I would like to do a thing that's sponsored?
Right now, it's super focused. We've found some communities or things that we thought would be good targets that we kind of held off on reaching out to just because we don't want to put ourselves too thin. Like I mentioned, we want to be in a place where if we bring a company in as a potential sponsor, we don't just have one community that works for them, kind of all our communities work for them. So if someone signs up organically, we're not turning them away. We're not actively trying to kind of go outside that initial focus.
Are you still planning to start with Coda
We actually still use the Coda doc. Well, until like 2 days ago, we still use the Coda doc as our kind of internal database of all the signed up communities just to keep track of all the signed up. And when we last contact, it kind of became our CRM for communities. But no, we are transitioning into more of a customer platform.
Awesome. All right. All right, we got one last presenter. This is actually also another entry for the Makers Festival from Planet Fest. Jonathan B. Strong, and this is actually one of my favorite docs. Very fun, very simple, and I think his story and how he made this one doc is really fun. So, go for Jonathan.
Thanks, Al. So I'll just point to
Like, sounds great. Sounds helpful.
Yeah.
Too.
so like Al said, this is a Coda doc that I built for a bit of fun, maybe a little less serious than the last 2 examples. Basically, I'm just going to run this through how, I built in an afternoon, less than 2 hours. Pretty simple app. So built it in less than the time it takes for the average commute. Just to give a bit of backstory, so me with my wife, or wifey Sita, as I like to call her. She's Latina, she's originally from Colombia. Her name is Johanna. And so my wifey Sita, she's amazing. She cooks delicious food. She really looks after me. But one thing she really has difficulty with is getting up in the morning. So it's really struggled to get her out of bed. She's not often in the best of moods. And so we usually use this device to wake us up in the mornings, Alexa. And it can get a little annoying sometimes. She tells you the weather, she tells you the situation with the train. It's not the most exciting things in the world. So I thought, why not just, make this a bit more fun? And I started looking for sort of love phrases in Spanish. So I Googled these, and then each morning, kind of pick one out, and then I would copy and paste it into Alexa, which is kind of fun because I get Alexa to say these phrases. They would butcher the Spanish. They would kind of say it in a gringo accent. Like El Cielo Bajo. So start off the morning with a bit of a smile, laugh, and then I thought, I was like, well, it's a bit cumbersome to look for the phrases, find the right one, find a different one, copy, etc. So I thought it'd be cool if I could just kind of, I found this wireframe, which was quite a good example of what my thought process was. I wanted to build something like this. And then, of course, came across the layers festival, and I thought, yeah, maybe Coda could build something like this. And so what I did is I basically just scraped a lot of these lists of Spanish love phrases, put them in a spreadsheet, parsed them, and you might be wondering, why was I using a Google spreadsheet if, why not just do it straight in Coda? Well, I knew there's this function called Google Translate, basically, that you can actually use in Google Sheets. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah. So yeah, this is a pretty good blog actually written by this Indian dude called Amit. He has all these kind of cool tricks and tips like that. But yeah, anyway, you just kind of whack in the Google Translate function. You grab the text, and then you say what your source language is and your target language is, and you can do this with any language. It's very cool. So yeah, just kind of fill that down. There we go. Cool, so yeah, basically imported that into Coda, so I have my table of love phrases. And then I wanted to build this generator tool. So basically I need to figure out how to grab an individual word from that table and just plonk it in this sort of code base that I built. And one of the things that's really great about Coda is it has a really good user forum. So I had a look, I found one or two solutions. This is the one that worked for me. So I just simply copy pasted the formula, tweaked it a little bit, and it worked. So that's great, it's working. Next thing I wanted to do is I wanted to find a way of easily sharing this on social. So got the tweet, the email button. And I just had a look at the original lists where I got these quotes from. Had a look at the syntax just from the link for social, on the social icons, and then created these extra columns in that original table with the quotes, and yeah, this is the formula I use for the Twitter column, for example. So just concatenating that Twitter URL with the regex thing to replace the space into the percent 20 text to basically formulate the URLs properly. And then so we've got the buttons, they all pre-populate the stuff really easily. And yeah, that's about it. That's kind of.
You have one for putting it in your laptop? Not yet.
No. That's the next evolution, I guess. One thing actually I was trying to figure out, I couldn't figure it out, was just how you can copy the text to the clipboard. I couldn't quite figure that out.
How can you the ending text?
So the text itself, because this is a formula, so I can't actually copy that text.
Yeah, so we're testing it out.
So figuring something out.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, one other thing I wanted to mention is the Coda team are really approachable, helpful. I've been providing them an intercom a lot, so using the platform, it's really working. And yeah, that's it. I guess happy wife, happy life.
What did you say?
But yeah, she enjoys it. I mean, I guess we want to measure ROI, meals. But no,
Did she wake up any earlier?
There we go.
So cool.
Any last questions for Jonathan?
Those are great examples.
Very diverse.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for coming. We do this every month, and we're all just, I mean, share out some afterwards if you have any questions about Coda. I can answer. Some fresh pizzas just came in the back, so stick around if you want a slice. Other than that, thanks for coming to Meetup.